Welcome everyone. Welcome to Docs for Life, and we really do appreciate you taking the time coming tonight. I know that you're all probably curious what's the Docs for Life Ketogenic way of eating. But before we do that, let me give you a little background how Doctor for Life came about. Raise your hand, or who's been here before? And also, wow, a lot of new people today. Excellent. Welcome. Well, everyone deserves to be healthy, right? Everyone deserves to have a good life. That's what we believe in. Dr. Cheryl she's board certified in internal medicine with subspecialty in obesity medicine and nutrition. And she's been in practice for over 20 years. In fact, she founded that practice over there. It's called Center for Adult Family Medicine. And has been seeing a lot of patients. And over the years, she felt that there's something missing. And there's always a common denominator. Hypertension, heart diseases, diabetes, cancer, even orthopedic problem. We sometimes, as we grow, even younger people now, we sometimes carry excess weight. And if we just address extra weight and obesity, it will help a lot of people. But sometimes it's very difficult to do that. And also, a lot of medical problems that we do are always like getting band-aids, like, oh, I have a headache, okay, here's Tylenol and ibuprofen. Oh, I'm having some chest pain, here's nitro, isn't it? Or you go to your doctor, oh, my blood pressure's high, okay, here's hydrochloride. And it's almost always like medicine. How about using what we have? And we, the whole team, I'll introduce to everybody. We believe, for those people that followed me during the tour, that mobility, exercise, is medicine. So if you exercise, move, that's actually medicine. We do have a full gym with a pool, with a personal trainer. Each one of the patients here, this is, by the way, a primary care internal medicine practice, will get a fitness assessment and will give you the proper way of exercising. You can do it yourself, or you can have a personal trainer. Second, we believe, smell the food, we believe that what you eat is who you are. So we believe that food is also medicine, but the nutritious kind of food. In fact, tonight, they're gonna talk about a different kind of food. We have different kind of food that we prescribe here, but the ketogenic way of eating. We have when I say personalized, your registered dietitian, Daniel, who's gonna give a talk. Each of the patient will sit down with him, talk about your nutrition, and he's going to prescribe what kind of diet. I hate to use the diet, proper nutrition. We also have this healthy kitchen here. So if you want to cook, our executive chef, Chef Rodney, will teach you how to cook. And if you don't want to cook, they can make it for you. In fact, I was explaining about the healthy meals we got. You can order it for the weekend. You can pick it up, order on Wednesday, pick it up on any day, Thursday or Friday. Food is medicine, mobility is medicine. Third, very important, a lot of people forget, sound mind, peace of mind, right, is medicine. Because if you're stressed, lots of problems at work, at home, it's not good, it's not healthy. So we have what we call personal coach, health coach. And that's us, so I'm introducing everybody right now. We'll help you with that. But this doesn't work if there's no guidance. It's patient-centered, personalized, doctor guidance. So that's where your doctor comes in. Because sometimes, as we grow older, sometimes there's wear and tear, we need some medicine. Or some people, maybe here already, are type 2 diabetics. They may be on insulin, they may be several medications. Well, guess what? We've been here now over a year, right? So we follow our patients, we do studies, and in fact, Mr. Daniel will present some data that we have, that a lot actually, patients with diabetes off insulin. How about that? Some of them, they have 4 medication, not literally off all medicine, but down to 1 or 2 medicine. How good is that? And the doctor will guide the personalized care, individualized care for you guys. It's a patient-centered, doctor-guided care using a 4-pronged approach. Food is medicine, exercise medicine, healthy mind, and of course the doctor. So welcome tonight. I'd like to introduce our staff. Pretty much we did. Dr. Cheryl's the medical director, founder of Doctor Life. Tessa is our health coach over there. Carol Hamilton is our food scientist, and also she's our marketing. And Herman, our administrator, office manager, is also a doctor. Of course, you met Chef Roddy, is also our chief operating officer. And Daniel, our registered dietitian, and he's an expert on keto. Wondering who is this guy? I'm an artist, by playing the other side. I do believe in this group that I invested so much and time, effort, and money believing this. It's gonna happen. Please tell your friends about what we're doing. It's something that I listened to my wife who said, I want to be a doctor because I want to make a difference. So I would like to introduce my wife, and I oversold her. And I believe in what she's doing. First, by the way, in the whole state of, actually, believe it or not, you were the first obesity specialized medicine in the whole upstate, and probably the third in the whole state of South Carolina. This is the first and only kind of practice in the whole country. Believe it or not, I'll just tell you a little example. So we put a website, right, about Doctor Life. I know, I just want to brag a little bit. Some cardiologists, actually a cardiologist, far away lands, saw the website and called me, and said, I really like the concept. I really want to put this in my country. I said, okay, well, if you're serious, you come and visit. This guy brought his own cardiologist, the guy that operated him, a cardiovascular surgeon, his vice president, and him. He owns 3 resorts, and he wants to put it as as part of his medical facility for his patient and his family. And they came. He came, and then he told me, come and visit my country. I want you to show my resorts. I said, okay, so I went. I visited them, it's real. So we're gonna have Dr. Life International, and we're just less than a year when this can happen. So great things are happening. People believe in this. I believe in it. I hope you like it, and you will benefit from it. So without further ado, let me give you a breakdown first what are going to happen. Dr. Cheryl will talk about introduction for ketogenic way of eating, and then he's almost a doctor, master's degree in nutrition. Daniel will talk about the specifics of ketogenic, and we'll present, because we have an initial patient and studies, the results that we did 3 months, right? That the patient did. It's an amazing result, and you like it. And for people that are really interested in doing it, you'll see. And of course, our chef will talk about the food, and are you going to see this? Yes, all right. So, Dr. Cheryl, let's start just briefly on the ketogenic way of eating.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. Remember this, if the food is right, you don't have to take medications. You agree? Yes. If the food is wrong, no amount of medicine can help you. So we stick to food is medicine. And like any medicine, it has pros and cons in the side effects. But the side effect, the benefit outweighs the side effects. And the side effects are manageable. So there's a lot of myths out there about ketogenic diet, the side effects of it, but those are easily manageable. So think of your body as, the body is a perfect machine, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So we have this defense mechanism that if there's a problem, that we can do something about it. So that's how the body is. So think of it like a car. What's the best car out there, do you think?
Yeah. Honda City.
Honda.
So to run efficiently, what type of gas you put in it? High octane, right? You don't put a diesel on a Ferrari, isn't it?
You can see.
Because otherwise it will damage the car. So the same thing with our body. If it's a perfect machine, it needs a high octane food. So there are two types of fuel, and this is to survive. It is we need glucose and ketones. And ketones comes from fat. So when you burn fat, that produces ketones, and it's called ketone bodies. So this fuel goes through a different metabolic pathway. So for storage and to burn if you need it eventually. So if you're not eating, then you need to burn energy for the body to survive. So let's say in the evening, right, you're not eating. So that your heart's still beating, your heart's working. So you need to burn fuel. Where you need to get the fuel from is from stored energy. So our body functions is regulated by hormones to maintain balance, homeostasis. And the most important hormones to store energy is insulin. So if you're eating, let's say carbohydrates, the stimulator is insulin. So the insulin inhibits the breakdown of these nutrients, and it helps you store it as fats. So excessive carbohydrates is associated with dyslipidemia. So triglycerides. Triglycerides is a combination of fats and sugar, particularly fructose. So it affects, it causes dyslipidemia. That's why you have high cholesterol, LDL, all this HDL, which is the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol. Ketones is produced in the liver from free fatty acids. So if you're not eating, your liver has to produce something to provide fuel because you're not eating, let's say, glucose. So in the fasting state, the body uses ketone bodies as a source of fuel. So this is an alternative to glucose. So ketone bodies are glucose sparing and protein sparing, so it preserves those fuel. So there are three ways to be in a ketosis state. So the one that's not healthy is starvation. So if you want to lose weight, some people say they stop eating. So they starve themselves. And that's why people are hungry and angry, and it's not healthy to do that. Fasting is the willingness to abstain or reduce certain food or drinks for a specific period of time. So there's a physiologic way, natural way of fasting, like overnight, because you're not eating, you're sleeping, but your body is working. And so in between meals. So if there's no source of food, then it uses an alternative fuel. And another way is medical reasons. So let's say before surgery, you're not supposed to eat before surgery. So your body has to use alternative fuel for that, if you're not eating, which is the ketone bodies. And of course, before lab draw, you're asked to be fasting before you check your sugar, cholesterol, and glucose. So you need to be fasting for that. So, and for religious reasons, for 40 days Ramadan, Muslims and Catholic, they do fasting. So for them to survive, there must be an alternative fuel that they're using if they're not eating. And there's nutritional ketosis. What we call nutritional ketosis is you can still be under ketosis by eating, and you don't want that. And believe me, in the 1920s, they start using ketogenic diet to treat epilepsy, which is more popular than starve them. So this is an alternative way, is to put them on ketosis diet. All right, it has medical benefits, and Daniel will talk to this about some more later, but this is the medical benefits. So it decreases marker for inflammation and improve cerebral function. It gives you mental clarity. Weight loss is a side effect, but it's a good side effect. Lipid profile, markedly improved, triglyceride, and the HDL, which is a good cholesterol. Improve mitochondrial production, This is mitochondria is the powerhouse of the body. This is where our energy are metabolized. Decrease oxidative stress. So when you're exposed to radiation, for example, that helps it. Cancer, for example, is an ongoing study. It's being helped by ketogenic diet. And of course, it preserves the exercise capacity. And these are non-medical benefits. And so these are the reasons why people chose keto. Number one, for medical reasons. And I think majority of the patients want that medical reason. Because there's a lot of parameters that can improve. Sugar will improve, triglyceride will improve, everything. It gives you energy, mental clarity, or because you heard it from somebody else and she's raving about it and you want to be like her because she's so successful with that. Or just out of curiosity. So wherever you are, everything here, and we can help you with that in your journey. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Cheryl. So, why are you interested in keto? Let me just pick one person. Why are you here? Let's see. Anyone volunteer? All right, you go ahead.
I want to lose weight.
Well, let's just go back a little bit. Where's that? Oops, no. Oh, look at that. Non-medical benefits, but it's really medical. It says boost extra mental clarity, energy, never hungry, skin side effects. So, thank you. We're gonna ask Daniel. He's gonna present the nitty-gritty of ketogenic way of eating. All right, let me just fix this and cheese it up. Over here, you're right. I'm not just a supporter, I'm also a technical person. Thank you, sir.
All right, first of all, thank you, Dr. Emil. Please allow me to be modest. I'm not an expert on ketogenics or ketogenic diet. I have been studying nutrition for the last 14 years, and I find that every day there's so much more to learn, and I feel honestly stupider by the day. But there's a lot of research out there. Okay? I also teach at Greenville Tech College, so I have a lot of students that I like to teach about nutrition because they are our future in our generation. So this is getting into the presentation that we have. This is a beautiful clinic. Just wanted to throw a few pictures in there. So like Dr. Neal talked about, we have a three-pronged approach here to holistic health. That includes a clinical nutrition and fitness branch, or arm, as we like to refer to them. And putting those all together is really going to help people fundamentally change their lives and achieve optimal health. Okay, some people might take a little quicker, some people might take a little bit longer. Okay, but hopefully we'll get there. So we really want to talk about like it was said several times, the nitty-gritty details of ketogenic diet. There's probably a lot more. We could sit here and talk for 3 hours, but I'll try to keep it within less than 30 minutes. I want to start off with the basics. Okay? So basically, the ketogenic way of eating, like Dr. Emil said, he doesn't like to use the word diet, nor do I, because I want this to be kind of a lifestyle for everybody. Diet kind of seems or sounds restrictive. Okay? But in the ketogenic way of eating, it's really going to force the body into a metabolic state called ketosis. And I'll tell you what ketosis is in just a few more points. So your body is going to switch to using fat that it's got stored rather than using sugar or carbohydrate. Sometimes you may hear them referred to as starches. Okay, that's going to generate energy for the cells to use rather than sugar. So the way I like to refer to it is you will eat fat to lose fat. And there's actually a title of a book here by a really renowned lipid researcher, Eat Fat to Lose Fat. Okay, so I'm not just making that stuff up. Some more basics. You may oftentimes hear of the ketogenic way of eating referred to as WOE. They're just trying to, shorten the language and verbiage. And in the ketogenic way of eating, we're going to restrict carbohydrates. Can anybody give me some examples of carbohydrates that we commonly consume?
Bread.
Yes. Keep coming.
My favorite.
What was it? Coca-Cola? Yep. Cereal, bagels, rice, okay. Potato chips. Yogurt's kind of one of those that depends on how much sugar there's in it. Okay. So good examples. And by focusing on reducing the carbohydrates, we're going to focus more on eating some higher fat foods and some moderate protein. Okay. So the classical ketogenic way of eating contains a ratio of about 75 to 80%. Some people increase that a little bit more to 85% fat. I know it sounds like a lot, right? Protein is going to be about 20% of the calories and then 5% carb. So it's really, really low on the carb that you're going to consume. The most important thing to keep in mind that you want to target on a ketogenic way of eating is 20 grams of carbohydrates or less. Some people say, well, that's impossible. We can't do it. Yes, you can do it. We've done it before. Okay. Now,
That's per day?
per day, 20 grams or less per day. Yep, to be in full ketogenically eating, ketosis, that's what we want to target for. Okay. Now, I want to clarify some points here because some people might confuse different diets with the ketogenic way of eating. Okay. There's what's called low carb. Some people might consume 50 to 60 grams of carbs per day versus the actual ketogenic way of eating, which is 20 grams. Okay. There's a paleo, and the way that you could describe a paleo is if you came in and didn't eat it, you probably shouldn't be eating it either. And then there's Atkins that people confuse the ketogenic way of eating with. So I want to make sure everybody understands ketogenic is really high fat. Okay, Atkins is really high protein. And then ketogenic is moderate protein, Atkins is moderate fat. But they're both low carb. So you can achieve some good results in weight loss with that. It's been employed, it's been around for quite a few decades, but like Dr. Cheryl said, the ketogenic way or the ketosis has been around since about 1920. Now, I also want to clarify that there are some terms that some people might confuse, and that's ketosis with ketoacidosis. They are not the same thing. The ketosis is what we're talking about, nutritional ketosis being in about 0.5 to maybe 3.5, 4.0 millimoles of ketones. Whereas ketoacidosis, that happens, and is a dangerous health condition that turns your blood to acidic. You don't want that to happen. It usually happens in a person who is type 1 diabetic or someone who's type 2 but doesn't manage their sugars very well. Okay, 200, 250, 300, 400 blood sugar levels. So what happens is, for example, the body thinks that it's starving, it's going to start breaking down its own fat sources, while at the same time you have an elevated blood sugar level. So you have high sugar levels and high ketone levels. That's the combination ketoacidosis, which can be potentially fatal and kill you. Okay, so that's something that some people are taking to the hospital with. Ketoacidosis, the doctors will try to hydrate you really quickly to reduce the acidity in your blood. Now, when done properly, when you are motivated to eat ketogenically, nutritional ketosis, Dr. Cheryl mentioned a few of the benefits, as did Dr. Neal. We'll talk about more of them. Really what you're trying to achieve is better insulin function. Okay? You want to reduce your insulin resistance. How many of you have ever heard that term, insulin resistance? Okay, what is that synonymous with before you get to full-blown diabetes? Pre-diabetes? Okay, so people might have insulin resistance, they have pre-diabetes, and then they don't take care of themselves, and it manages to transform into full-blown diabetes. Basically, by doing a ketogenic way of eating, you're going to make your insulin more sensitive. That's what you really want. Okay, so think about a key. If you have a key that's kind of been worn down to a nub, and you try to force it into lock, and it doesn't work, doesn't open, you try to jam it in there, that's what insulin resistance is like for the cells. Okay, you want a key that's been just perfectly made, perfectly sharp, so it inserts, opens the cell, and it allows the sugar to go in. Okay. Eating ketogenically is going to reduce your blood sugar levels. We've seen many patients here at the clinic with blood sugar levels of 300, 400, 500. That's not normal. Okay. You want to make sure you keep it within about 70, 85, 90, no more than 100 milligrams per deciliter. But you need to make sure you monitor your insulin if you're type 1 and type 2 diabetic. Okay. You want to match that with your glucose levels and your carb intake. and the American Diabetic Association, for a very long time, they have provided incorrect information in that a diabetic person can still eat carbs while managing to take their insulin. Yes, that's okay for a while, but after a certain period of time, you're going to increase your insulin resistance. You don't want that to happen. You want to reduce your carbs and your sugar in your bloodstream. And there's other benefits that we'll talk about on another slide. So basically, we've talked about the typical advice: eat low carb, eat high fat, moderate proteins. But what does that really mean? It's simple in theory, but I haven't really told you how much to eat, what to avoid. Okay. Keep in mind, remember this macronutrient ratios. And if you haven't, has anybody ever heard the term macronutrients? Okay, so what are the 3 macronutrients? Carbs, right up on the board, right? Carbs, proteins, and fats. We want to keep that ratio 75% or more fat, 20% protein, and these numbers you can play around with if you're doing the ketogenic way of eating to achieve better results. We've done that at the clinic here as well. So, what can you eat? Typical healthy foods and healthy fats to include in your diet are going to be meats. You can have a red steak, believe it or not, a piece of pork chops. Believe it or not, organ meats are really healthy and nutritious. They're very dense in the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, which your body desperately needs. What have we been told for a very long time to avoid in this country?
Pork.
Fat. Fat is what I was getting at. Okay. So when you avoid fat, you avoid the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, and K, which are found in those foods, and we're getting sicker day by day because we don't have those necessary components to keep ourselves healthy and alive. Eggs are going to be your friend. All right, they're known as a powerhouse of nutrition. They're a perfect protein. How many of you have been told over the years and decades to avoid eggs? Okay, eggs are one of those foods that has been up and down on the seas of nutritional information. It's good one day, it's bad the next day because the cholesterol can kill you. You should only eat egg white, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you right now in my studies, all these books, and probably a couple more, that eggs are really nutritious. They have a lot of fat-soluble vitamins in egg yolk, and that cholesterol is not going to be detrimental to your health. You might get sick of them on ketogenic way of eating. I've heard that several times, but there's a lot of ways you can prepare eggs. Fish and seafood, okay, salmon, sardines. I'm trying to avoid tilapia. It's not the best fish. It's kind of farm. Non-starchy leafy green vegetables. Swiss chard, kale, broccoli, asparagus, so forth. Okay, coconut oil, olive oil. How many have heard that coconut oil is going to kill you, cause heart disease? Okay, so again, it's one of those foods and fats that's been exonerated in the recent couple of years because we're finding a lot of good results. And people who live in like the Pacific Islands actually consume a lot of coconut oil but don't have any heart disease. Okay, one of my favorite fats, butter or ghee. Anybody know what ghee is?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's the butter, but you take out like all the milk out of it.
Protein solids, yep. So
Yeah.
you just melt it to a low temperature. You separate the proteins from natural fat, pure fat. Some people do better with that if they have a milk allergy and just consume the ghee rather than the butter. All right, believe it or not, lard, beef tallow, pork fat is going to be something that you can consume as well. I personally don't like the taste of lard as much, but hey, if that's your thing, it's going to be one of those healthy saturated fats, and even bacon is going to be okay on the ketogenic way of eating. Yes.
I'm sorry, what is tallow?
Tallow is just the name for the fat from like beef. Lamb tallow, beef tallow, and
Okay,
then pork has its own name, lard.
okay.
Is that correct? Okay. All right, what else? So for example, breakfast that you might be able to target includes eggs and bacon and or some avocado. Avocado is really huge in the ketogenic way of eating. Black coffee. Anybody ever made bulletproof coffee? Okay.
What's that? Bulletproof?
Yes, so somebody who's had bulletproof coffee, can you tell us what it is?
It's good.
It's good? Yeah.
We use a tablespoon of medium chain triglyceride oil.
Okay.
And we use about 2/3 of a tablespoon of Kerrygold.
Kerrygold butter?
Kerrygold.
Okay. Good.
And coffee. And put it in a little blender. And it's fantastic. No sugar.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I tried the bulletproof coffee. I can't get past the taste of coffee, so I'm sorry, Rodney.
Oh, you can.
Somebody else can drink my bulletproof coffee. So that was breakfast. For lunch option, you can target something like a cup of bone broth with chicken salad. Okay, hopefully you make your own mayo sauce, mayo dressing like Rodney does. Or a salad with greens, tuna, olives, blue cheese dressing. Okay, what's missing from these meals so far? Carbs. Okay, bread, toast, jam, all the good stuff. Sweet potato. Okay, for dinner, here comes the steak, baby. Sauteed with some veggies, followed by, believe it or not, there are keto desserts which are keto friendly. Okay, so you.
I'm a sugar addict, so I do keto.
Okay, we'll talk about that towards the end. Or you might do like tomato bisque, salmon, green beans, mushrooms. Don't be afraid to load up some of the butter on there. Okay, make it nice and creamy. And there's nothing. This morning for breakfast, I had an egg. For the first time, I put like a huge pat of butter and salt on there. Like it gave the egg a whole new taste. It was incredible. All right, so the dessert, maple walnut ice cream made with some xylitol or stevia. Rodney is becoming an expert, truly an expert, at making some really good keto desserts. Right. Now, how does this work? So Dr. Cheryl alluded to a bit of how this works. I alluded to it as well. But basically, everybody normally eats carbohydrates, right? Bread, pasta, potatoes, sugar, rice, everything else. That's your body's going to use the carbohydrates to break down into glucose. Throw it into the cell, throw it into mitochondria to use ATP. And whatever excess sugar that you have running around your bloodstream, you're going to store it as glycogen in your muscles and lean tissue. So when you go for 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours overnight without eating, your body's going to tap into the liver resources and your muscle resources for the sugar, known as the glycogen. A little bit different. Now, if you have too much carbohydrate in your diet, again, that's going to be stored away as fat. Triglycerides. So how many of you have seen your own lipid panels? Okay. So you might see an elevated triglyceride, 150, 200, 300. That's an indication that you may be consuming too many carbs. And the point of a ketogenic diet is to reduce that to below 100. Now, when we eat food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, we constantly replenish those glycogen stores by eating those carbohydrates again. Okay. I love bread. It's one of my weaknesses. Potato chips is one of my weaknesses as well, but I'm trying to reduce that. I promise. Now, if you use up those glycogen stores and you're going to push yourself into ketosis, you're basically going to run out of glucose. Okay, so your body's going to switch gears and it's going to, like Dr. Cheryl said, use ketone bodies instead from the fats that you're storing around your midline. That's where typically everybody stores it. Now, you're going to convert that stored energy into ketones, and that's going to be your secondary source of energy that your brain can run on, your cells can run on with much more efficiency. Okay, my question is, who doesn't want to get rid of some fat stores? I do, and I'm sure maybe some of you want to do that as well. But you got to be careful if you're embarking on a ketogenic way of eating, because there are some potential pitfalls. How many of you have heard of the keto flu? Okay, anybody give me some examples of what might happen on a keto flu? Headache? No energy? Muscle cramps, nausea. Okay, you kind of feel like you're actually having the flu, but that's a little bit different. Okay, so you may feel tired, moody. That could be a normal symptom, and we've had some patients experience those, although quite briefly and very lightly. Now, this is going to happen, or it can happen, because your body's been used to running on carbohydrates and glucose for the entire period of your life up to now. If you're deciding to go into ketogenically, and your body's just saying, whoa, 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 hold on, what's going on here? Okay, it's going to have to readjust a little bit. So if that happens, you want to make sure you drink a little bit more water. Okay, you might get rid of more fluid. Now, anybody know why that might happen? Why you might need to drink a little more water in the beginning?
Flush all the toxins out.
Not necessarily flush out the toxins.
You lose water.
You lose a little bit of water. Okay, so remember I said the glycogen that you store in your muscles and the liver? If you're going to use that up, glycogen actually stores some water with it, so you're going to dump some water, so you need to replenish it. Okay? But along with water, you also need to replenish some sodium. Okay, that's on the next slide. I just jumped ahead, sorry. Another thing you can take to help with a potential keto flu pitfall is some MCT oil, which I believe you mentioned. Or is it MCT powder or MCT oil? Oil. Okay. Coconut oil is also considered an MCT. What does MCT stand for? Medium chain triglyceride. Okay, your body's going to use those much more quickly than other types of long chain fatty acids. Yes.
If a person is very active, would this affect him or her? If, for example, she likes to ride a bike or do a lot of kind of exercise,
Mm-hmm.
would she be needing to,
Like stop for a while.
well,
Would
not to stop, but would this take out of a lot of energy that you have to add to it, or?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that before. So I think what you're asking is if a person is more active, are they going to feel the effects of ketosis a lot quicker?
Yes, that's what I'm.
Sounds like Dr. Cheryl might have a response.
Yeah, exercise builds endurance, and for you to have that endurance, actually, the ketone bodies is the better fuel. So it gives you energy. And she say.
Yeah.
So it's a better fuel, it gives you more energy.
Well, let me think a little bit more on that, and I'll try to answer that towards the end of the presentation. Is that okay?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Let's see. You might want to take a little bit more healthy fat in. Like I said, dab on that butter, a little bit of protein. In the worst case scenario, consider adding a little bit of small amount of clean carbs like sweet potatoes or berries to ease the transition. So if you want to go cold turkey, kind of ease yourself into that. Okay. So here's the point that I was trying to make about salts. The more I've read, so what happens in the ketogenic way of eating, we're not stimulating our pancreas, right? Because we're not eating a lot of carbs. So that means that there's not going to be a lot of insulin to be produced that's going to be coursing through your bloodstream. If that happens, you're actually going to lose a lot more sodium. Therefore, you might need to replenish some of that sodium to avoid that keto flu. Okay, so some good healthy sodium will come from salt. Some good healthy salts are going to be Himalayan sea salt, Celtic sea salts. Okay, try to avoid the table salt because that's just pure sodium and chloride. It doesn't have a lot of the other trace minerals that your body really needs. Now, potassium is also another electrolyte that you will need to replenish, and you can get a good source of potassium from things like avocados, salmon, coconut water. Just be careful with coconut water because it does have some sugar, as it is slightly sweet. Now, also consider magnesium. Okay, most people might already be deficient throughout the entire United States. We're deficient in a lot of nutrients and vitamins, so magnesium happens to be one of those. Magnesium is really important as an electrolyte for your mood, your muscles, and your general well-being. And things that you can consume are bone broth is going to be really rich in some of those electrolytes, leafy green vegetables, spinach, Swiss chard. You get the point, right? Okay. So also you want to be mindful of not getting enough greens. There is a potential worry that you might not have enough bowel movements, but on the clients that we've tried this diet, they all seem to have decent bowel movements, 1 or 2 a day from not getting enough fiber. That's the worry. But make sure you get enough leafy green vegetables in there. Okay? Some people might be consuming too many carbs at the start. And I put them on a scale here. Potatoes, sweet potatoes are going to be the most carb rich. Then you have onions and mushrooms, and then zucchini and broccoli are going to be the least carbohydrate rich out of these foods on the PowerPoint slide. You might also want to consider throwing some of those leafy green vegetables in salads, sauteed, steamed, whatever you want to do. And then exercise. So kind of coming back to answer your question, the more you exercise, the quicker you're going to put yourself into ketosis and getting rid of the glycogen that's stored. And of course, some people might feel a little lethargic at the start, but the quicker you get into ketosis, the quicker you're going to feel that rush of energy coming in. So that will be beneficial. You're going to become what's called keto or fat adapted much quicker. All right, so do anything from walking, if you can walk, hiking, push-ups, sit-ups, running, jogging, bike, elliptical, and so forth. What begins to change is the question. Okay, so you're going to become fat or keto adapted, like I already mentioned. And some people may find that boost of energy. How many of you have tried the ketogenic diet already? Okay. Has anybody felt like some of those effects starting to kick in? Okay, I see a couple of head nods. All right. You might have reduced or no energy crashes, which is great. Everybody wants to go through their day without feeling like they have to slump down for a quick 10-minute power nap. And you may actually sleep fewer hours through the night, but feel a little bit more rested throughout the rest of the day. And one of the best benefits of this ketogenic way of eating is that you might find yourself that you need to eat less. Some people will survive on 2 meals a day. Some people might even survive on 1 meal a day because there's so many calories, so much fat in there, that's going to stimulate your body to burn its own fat stores. It's going to keep you from having hunger and keep you from craving foods, especially carbohydrate-rich foods. Now, how do we measure and how do we know that you're in ketosis? Somebody could say, well, I've been eating ketogenically for a week or 2 weeks, but I don't know if I'm in ketosis. I don't feel any of the effects. The best way that we can measure that is actually taking some sort of parameter or lipid, looking at your lipids or your blood sugar and your ketone levels in your bloodstream. So doing a finger prick to check that level. Some people in the first week might do what's called a breath ketone meter. They breathe into something and it will show like a level of ketones in there. It's only going to be good for about a week because then your body's going to switch to a different type of ketone, which needs to be checked by your blood. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Some people go to CVS and they get like a little pill, a little bottle of the ketone strips, but those are only going to be beneficial for a few days and maybe a week and a half at max. Okay, knowing and seeing these amounts can be very beneficial in that it will tell you whether to increase or decrease your fat or protein ratio, and it's actually going to be helpful as an indicator to tell you you're actually transitioning. Okay, I can't tell you how happy people are when they come in, they get their finger pricked, they put the little measuring device into the ketone meter, and it says like 0.9, and they jump to the roof that, hey, I'm in ketosis, I'm actually doing what this guy said, and it's right. Okay. So blood, urine, and breath. The best is going to be blood. The least best is going to be breath. And if you have acetoacetate, that can instantly be detected in the urine. That may be good for about a week. But your most accurate measure is going to be your blood meter. And we have that when we're talking about things in our program, because that's going to measure the most commonly used ketone, which is a beta hydroxybutyrate. Okay. Sorry for throwing out some of these scientific terms. But I just want you to make sure you understand there's 3 different types of ketones that your body will use. Okay, if you are afraid to take your finger prick of a little blood drop, we can do that for you. So, come in our clinic and we can do it for you. Now, this is some of the information in a graph that's been drawn out by 2 experts. You'll see at the bottom, maybe a little bit hard to see, but Jeff Volek and Stephen Finney, these are the world-renowned experts, truly experts, much more expert than I am. But they have found that to be nutritional ketosis, you have to have a blood level of ketones between about 0.5, is some of the research that I've seen, up to about 3.0. We've had some patients that have gone up to like 7.2 for a brief amount of time. He's tried it before, nothing concerning, it went back down. You had a lot of energy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it felt like it was high. So how long do you have to do this? There's no set rule for how long you have to do it, but the longer you do it, the more benefits you can reap. Okay. Now, we here as professional healthcare providers think of the ketogenic way as a tool for aiding several things. They're reducing blood glucose, HbA1cs. And the secondary benefit, we always try to focus on your blood sugar levels and your dependence on medication when trying to reduce that. And the secondary indirect goal is weight loss. More mental clarity. Okay. Some go as long as several weeks. You're not probably going to get a lot of benefit because you're barely starting to get into ketosis. You need to go for a little bit longer. And what we've done here as a trial is to go for at least 3 months. Now, believe it or not, there's actually people who have done it for a year, 2 years, 10 years. They're still living. One of my favorite slides and favorite topics. What about fat and cholesterol? Okay, so like I asked you a few minutes ago, we've been told to cut out our fat, cholesterol, okay, for the last 50, 60 years. And what have we been told to consume a lot more of during that time? Sugar, carbohydrates. What's the base of that pyramid that we've been told was our nutritional guidelines? Right, it's carbohydrates. Have 6 or 7, 11 servings of bread and pasta every day, right? And what are we suffering from today? Diabetes, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, okay, obesity, weight gain.
Morbid obesity, yeah.
Yep, morbid obesity. So does that make you kind of scratch your head and kind of question some of
It's
the
not working.
recommendations? Exactly, it's not working, it hasn't worked, so it's time to try something different. Fat will not make you fat. I can't not emphasize that enough. Okay, don't be afraid of fat that we are going to talk about on here. Now, there's a difference between good, healthy fat and bad fat. Okay, the reason for that morbid obesity, the diabetes, has been the processed refined sugar, carbohydrates. Okay, those are the real culprits, and the more I'm studying, the more I see that the excessive amount of carbohydrates that people are consuming causes your pancreas to release a lot of insulin. That's actually causing a lot of inflammation and damage to your heart tissue and your very sensitive, very small arteries. Not good. Okay. And of course, with that weight gain comes that increase in blood pressure, which we're trying to solve and reduce as well. Now, again, I want to finish the slide with fat does not cause heart disease, but the caveat is that the type of fat matters. Now, this may be a little bit hard, but I want to reassure you, this comes from the Cambridge International Institute of Medical Science. The quote that I highlighted in yellow was spoken by George Mann, who's a medical doctor, who's very prominent and very well known in the fat and cholesterol world. He says, saturated fat and cholesterol in the diet are not the cause of coronary heart disease. That myth is the greatest scientific deception of the century and perhaps of any century. Okay, not my words, but a really true expert on this topic. Now, these are some books that I've read that just show you that there's more and more doctors that are talking about like cholesterol. Is there a great myth about cholesterol? Why lowering your cholesterol won't prevent heart disease? The Great Cholesterol Con, written by Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. Okay, Eat Your Cholesterol by another doctor. Fat Cholesterol Are Good For You by Uwe Grabowski. MD and PhD, really world-renowned on this topic. These are two of my favorite books that show about 101 and 101, so 202 papers that show low cholesterol actually leads to an earlier death, believe it or not. So lower your cholesterol numbers, the more likely you are to pass away sooner. Here's another one, the Eat Fat, Lose Fat, the cholesterol hoax, okay, written by another MD. Cholesterol is not the culprit. Fred Kumaro, also PhD, I think he did some work in Seattle, very well known. And this book I just finished on the keto cure. So I want you to realize that we're not pulling this out of thin air. We're compiling a lot of these resources, and based on some of the nutritional information that doctors have found, fat is not going to cause heart disease. Now, the last slide that I want to talk about in terms of keto benefits is that fat and protein are going to provide you with a blood sugar stabilizing effect. Okay, what's one of the first things that people eat in the morning when they get up? Coffee, orange juice. Some people eat donuts and cereal, because that's what I was wanting to target. Okay, what happens? Muffins. Okay, so you're going to dump a lot of sugar in your bloodstream. Your bloodstream is going to go up and down like a roller coaster. Okay, that's going to increase your risk for having cravings throughout the rest of the day. If you have something like I said, eggs and bacon, sausage and avocados, and low-carb vegetables on ketogenic weight eating extensively. This is a gentleman who wrote the book Keto Clarity, and the doctor next to him supported him in his findings, and he's done a lot of ketogenic research as well. The cool thing is, he's right here, he's saying, look at me, how chubby I am. And then he's been on the ketogenic weight eating for about 10 years. He's lost about 180 pounds. Okay? And he actually, believe it or not, lives in Spartanburg. This is another lady from another reputable website. She used to weigh this, literally half her size now. Okay, I'm gonna cruise through these a little quick. Man loses over 300 pounds on a low carb diet. Okay, let me go back real quick. So look at the difference in his face. It looks like he gained 20 years on his face, doesn't it? Okay, look what that can do. Here's another lady who lost about 120 pounds. Another lady who's been on the ketogenic weight eating for 15 years. Okay. This guy went from chunky, oversized to a six-pack, okay? Results are not guaranteed overnight, so please don't take that too hard. Okay, you probably had to do a lot of work, a lot of training, eating, all that stuff. And here's another gentleman who lost about 50 pounds on the ketogenic way of eating. Okay. I've actually seen the video of this lady on YouTube, very, very inspiring. Okay, she lost 130 pounds. Here's another gentleman. He's got kind of a big butt crack right there. Just have yourself. All right, so I want to show you a few results from our one clinic study so that we can actually talk about the benefits that we've seen in our clinic. A little bit hard to see, a lot of information, a lot of numbers, but I want to highlight that, it's kind of hard to see. So we have this patient here who started out with 219 total cholesterol. It dropped down to about 189 and then went back up to 202. That's not a sign that something's gone wrong. It's just your cholesterol is normalizing. The most important thing that I want you to see is that he had his level of triglycerides was 137, went down to 90, and then it finally went down to 70. That's the number I'm more specifically going to focus on. Okay, here are some charts from our own clinical research. This patient went from 163 pounds to 142 pounds in 3 months, okay, without exercising. This is just eating fat. So what I say, eat fat to lose fat. Here's another patient who went from 176 to 153, and last I heard that patient is at about 149 pounds. Okay, so very good work. This patient is probably continuing that ketogenic way of eating. Another one from 213 to 196. I can show you more, but I don't want to bore you, but you've seen the general trend of the weight going down. You see the dates that I highlighted in the red box, starting June 1st, last year, 2017. What's her weight? 227. Okay, her fat weight, adipose tissue was 104 pounds, and her fat percentage was 45.7. Check this out. Just last month, she's down to 185. She has gone down from 104 to 76 pounds of fat, and her body fat percentage went from 45 to 41.2. Okay, this person has been really motivated to make some changes in their life and really reap the benefits of the ketogenic way of eating. But I've had to constantly counter keto. Okay? I'm your coach, and I'll help you toward that. Now, the boring stuff is just the celebrities, Tim McGraw's, try this, blah, 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 looking sexy. Halle Berry, 62, a diet high in fats, low in carbs, moderate protein. She is, anybody know how old she is?
She's like 50s.
How old does she look here?
20.
All right, 20 is a little generous.
40.
I'd say maybe like 35, but she's looking pretty good, right? So what I say, keto can also provide some healthy skin benefits. All right, TTGO, everybody knows about TTGO, right? How many avocados does he eat every day? Three or four? Yep. So that is the end, and basically what I want to end with is trying this conclusion. The ketogenic way has been around for a long period of time, about 100 years. Okay. It's a different way of eating that has a lot of fat, a lot of protein, low carb. And this way of eating has shown some very positive results in people outside this clinic, people inside this clinic. And it's one of the several offerings we have here. So we're not just promoting ketogenic way of eating, we're promoting healthy eating in general with the doctor-guided care, chef, the health coach. And I want to leave you with this quote. Okay? Food without fat is like life without love. And another quote that I want to leave you with is food is only good when you taste it, not when you wear it. Okay? All right, so that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your